Hey, 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 Nicole Roberts Jones here, and welcome to another episode of the Meaningful Work Podcast, a time I come and pour into you so that you can have a life and a career full of meaning and fulfillment. Excited about today's guest because if you are a leader, and if you're not a leader, you will be one. This insight is going to shift the trajectory, not just for you, but for every person on your team. So grab a pen because I know this brother is going to go all the way in. So let me introduce him. His name is Andre W. Thornton, who is a CEO. He's a speaker and coach known for his transformative leadership development approach that focuses on the human experience. With extensive experience in both technical and executive roles, he founded Whitman Consulting, a sought after partner in leadership development with a track record of delivering significant impact for organizations worldwide. Now, listen, his bio is way longer than that, but that's all I'm going to read for today. So, y'all help me welcome Andre. Hey, hey.
Hello. After that intro, I need you to just kind of roll with me everywhere I go, please.
I'd be happy to do it. We'd have a good time. Probably do too much and not get any work done, but nevertheless. So tell us a little bit about your pivotal moment. Like, how did you get into this whole transformative leadership, purpose-driven leadership place in your own journey?
Well, first, thank you so much for allowing me to be on. Are we Nicole, Dr. Nicole Roberts?
Whatever you call me, Nicole, it's fine.
Nicole, okay. I have been on this journey for my entire life, but it didn't start in my own mind
Mm,
until about 10, 11 years ago. The pivotal moment for me was a huge disruption at work. And by disruption, I mean, I was on this trajectory, moving up in my career, doing everything that I thought was what I wanted to do from a
mhm,
kid. You grow up, you want to be an executive, you want to get into senior leadership. And I had this moment of reflection when that got disrupted because the role that I was in, I was no longer going to be in. So the company was downsizing slash restructuring. And I know there's a lot of that going on today. And the role that I had as an executive, I was no longer going to be able to be in that role. And it was devastating. Um, what I decided to do, and there was all this uncertainty around that. I wasn't sure what job I was going to have. Felt like I wasn't really in control. I mean, I was doing a good job, but I didn't get to keep the job. So I decided to focus on what I could control, and that was me. Um,
mm,
and it was the first time I had a chance to really reflect on who I was and why I was doing everything I was doing in the first place. And so the short version of it is that disruption caused me to find my purpose. And it put me in this place of self-reflection and journey of self-reflection that has not stopped since. And that
mm.
was literally in 2013. Wow.
Yeah,
So
time flies.
12 years.
Time
Yeah.
flies when you're having fun, right? And so I love that you said this disruption because so many of us think disruptions are negative, but I love that you found the lesson in the disruption because some of us will stay stuck and stay in the woe is me and how come I didn't and why did this happen to me instead of let me find the lesson here. Let me find what I can learn here. I also love that you said, by the way, if you guys ever see me, and I didn't tell you this before we started, if you see me looking down, I'm writing because I'm taking notes too. Listen, I'm a student and a host. So I love that you said focus on what I could control. And I think so many people don't understand that, what was I saying? They used to say, when you point one finger at somebody else, you're pointing four back at you, right? So when you start to take an introspective look, so as you started to really take that look, what did you how do I say this? Because I want look, as my mother would say, I don't want to put all your business in the street. But what did you really begin to learn about yourself that began to shift the trajectory of your career?
So what I learned, and I'm an engineer, so I'm into the science of it. Like how do emotions work? How do humans work? I'm into all that. And what I learned was I had this understanding of who I was. And, someone asked me who I am. I say, I'm Andre Thornton. But I did not know that with that, becomes beliefs around who Andre Thornton is
Mm.
in this world, and more importantly, who Andre Thornton is not. So with that idea and realizing, and the science around this, that we're programmed, and everything that we do, 95% of it is based on sort of our programming happens subconsciously. It made me say, all right, so I just say I'm Andre, so let's dig into that. So what makes up who I am? I am my beliefs, I am my values, I am my goals, I am my visions, and several other things that sit beneath the surface. And what's interesting is when I said to myself, all right, Andre, so what are those things for you? I didn't have an answer.
Mm.
And I decided to literally create the list and go one by one and answer the questions. What are my beliefs about who I am and what I can do? What are my values? What are my goals? What are my visions? And not the goals, visions that I think I should have because I want to move up in corporate America. And that's just, the structure of society says that's what you're supposed to do. But what do I want?
Mm.
Truly me. Um, Not because of anyone else saying that this is what I should want, but what do I just want? And so I laid all that out. Engineers, a nice spreadsheet goes a long way. And then I started to build a construct around it and design my entire life around it.
That's so good. So do you find, okay, so first of all, I get into acronyms. So that's, you did BVGV, right? So those of you that like the designers, that's his own: beliefs, values, goals, and vision. BVGV, right? So I love that you said that. I love that you stopped. And here's the thing that's interesting. And let me keep it real as Black folk, okay? And you said this, and I said this in another episode. So those of you that have seen other episodes, I'm about to repeat myself. Many of us should on ourselves. And it's all the things we should do and all the things that we should be and all the lists that we created in our 20s that doesn't even match who we are anymore. Or we've surpassed it, but we stay stuck on that list. And I love that you took time to get to know you. So good. That's a lesson we can hang up right now. That's a whole lesson by itself. So now, with that great construct, how do you now take that insight? And now I know you use it to develop teams. Tell us a little bit about what you see as the challenge with teams, and how you come in and infiltrate that.
Yeah. So with teams, it's so interesting. Everything that my company teaches is what I literally did for myself first. So it's, I'm not only a client, I'm the self-reflection president, right? Like I have gone through this journey of understanding what it's like to be on a team, be in an organization, a corporation, have all these demands and expectations, have these outcomes that I believe I'm responsible for. And I see if I'm able to get those outcomes and results, I'm rewarded and I move up and all these things, this construct of a career. And then I went through this journey of self-reflection and then brought it back to how does that impact the career, the outcomes. So that journey for me is what I take teams through, and I take
Mhm.
each individual through it, because you can't just say a team is going to go through the exact same process. Some people have already defined their values. Some people already know kind of what their vision is or where they're trying to go. So everyone's at a different place, but what we've provided is a system, a construct, a framework to take people through that. And the beautiful part about teams is it becomes this flywheel effect with a team where you can do the thing within the group team environment and everyone's going through their individual experience. But as they're going through it with each other, there's this perpetual effect of them each continuing to grow and it being safe for them to not know all the answers yet and grow in the journey together. It creates a system for them to go through this process. And that's the beautiful thing of organizations and teams and companies is they have already the system in place to basically get people to show up and do work. So why not use that same system to get people to get this understanding so that they can bring more meaning into their work?
Hmm. So good, so good. So let me say this now. Let me preface it with saying I'm not a scientist, so I'm gonna probably mess up what I'm going to say. So please feel free to correct me. My husband is a physicist, so trust me, he gets plenty of laughs off of me trying to say some scientific something. But what's interesting is, as I'm hearing you share this, what's coming in my mind is our body is a whole system. Okay. So when you create a construct, right, for organizations, think about our body as a construct. When we get sick, something's infiltrating that construct, and our body's saying, "Hold, wait up, mate, that's not supposed to be here," right? And so as you were talking, I was thinking about all the challenges that come into the systems that don't work. One being people not understanding who people are and not seeing people for who they are. That's what he just explained. That's the non-scientific version of what he said. But what are some of the other challenges that you see that leaders are faced with, and they don't even know that is there? It's like that cancer that you don't see on the first biopsy. Let me keep it real, and then it starts to spread because you haven't treated it.
Mm, mm. Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness. I love that analogy. You described it perfectly. There's a system. Everything is a system. Um, Us waking up in the morning and the first thing we do is based on a system. It's based on what's convenient to us, what are our habits around it. And our bodies are systems, our relationships are systems, our homes are systems. Everything is a system. And once we understand that, we can get intentional about designing the system to create whatever we want to create. And that's a powerful, really, really powerful understanding to have. By the way, uh, I would have never thought I would be doing this. This in my system of growing up and in a career and being able to connect purpose and my why to my work was never uh, something that I aspired to.
Hmm.
It literally took that disruption, what felt like the most horrible thing that could possibly happen. It took that moment for me to go through this process and have this discovery. And I mention that because I know right now there are several people going through a really hard time in their career. And I offer, and this is, of course, hindsight 2020. I've had this company for 9 years. I went through this transformation a few years before that. But I would offer to y'all that this moment right now, if you're feeling a huge disruption, is the biggest gift.
Hmm.
It is the biggest, it is the only way you would do whatever it is you're about to do next because the system you were in needed to be disrupted.
Whew, that's so good. The system you were in needed to be disrupted. And you know what's interesting is, and I say this all the time, God never intended for us to live on one level.
Mm.
Many of us get stuck here and we think, "Oh, well, how am I gonna move here?" But listen, our life is meant to live through levels and stages. Just like when we went to school. We didn't start in kindergarten and then graduate 12th grade. It didn't work like that. We had to go through levels. And so that disruption began to help mold you into the next level of Andre. Just like this disruption, even though it doesn't feel good, just like, when you eat your vegetables when you're little, doesn't feel good, but it's for your good. Right? So, what give us maybe a real life example of without saying the client's name, so we won't put, as I said a few minutes ago, people's business in the street, but example so people can begin to see themselves in a shift of a team that you work with, that
Mm.
you begin to see that there was some disruption needed in order for them to grow.
Oh wow, there's been so many teams now, and I was looking recently. We received this recognition as a company, which is super exciting. And as part of that, I had to look back at
Wait,
how
stop.
many
Hold on.
different.
Wait a minute, because you said you received recognition. You can't go past that. Tell us what recognition you received.
So we received, which is so humbling, a recognition as a top 10 leadership development firm by an organization called HR Tech Outlook. And
Yay,
it was,
congratulations. That's
thank
so
you,
good.
thank
And
you,
I love
thank
how
you.
humble he is that he's gonna keep on talking and not even let me acknowledge it, not even tell
Thank
me what the award is. So I just want to
thank you.
stop and just
So
acknowledge you, Black man, that you won this phenomenal award as the CEO of your own leadership development, purpose-driven leadership development firm. So with that, go ahead.
I will receive that. I will. Thank you so much, Nicole. One thing a lot of people don't know about me, and they're surprised to find out, is I'm introverted and I'm shy. Um, which is important to realize that there are two different things. Introversion is sort of how we get energy, but shy is, I'm the quiet kid in the corner that just so happens to be out doing keynotes and doing training. So we received this recognition, and which is great. And then the magazine was released this week, and they put me on the cover of it,
Mm,
and it was kind of I mean, it was exciting, but it was also like one of these everybody don't look at me moment. But anyway, so as part of that, they wanted us to understand and share, kind of what the company has done. And we work with almost 50 different clients to this point, which is phenomenal.
Hmm.
What we started doing, and to answer your question about what we've seen with some teams, is we started to measure the impact. So any organization, so you come to us, we don't have this is exactly what we're going to do. We need to understand what your organization needs. So if an organization says, hey, our team or our organization, we need more trust. We feel like that's just missing, that's foundational. We will design an experience around building trust with those people, and we will measure the trust before and after. If an organization says, hey, we're looking to improve our great place to work scores for the entire enterprise, then we will very specifically look at the questions that they want to improve the scores on and design an experience for their senior leadership team to create a culture that trickles down to impact the great place to work scores in those areas. And we've been able to see those results from start to finish. We start with a number and then we finish and we're able to deliver an increase. So trust may go up 50% in an organization.
Mm.
Great place to work scores may increase in that question area by 5% year over year. So those are the kinds of results we've been able to deliver.
So good. So good. So as you've been in this work, what would you say are some of the things that leaders should prioritize to find more of a meaningful, and of course I got to say meaningful at some point, purpose-driven culture in their workplace?
It's interesting. The it's so simple. I almost feel guilty about it. Um, all it really is, Nicole, is paying attention to people
Mm.
and making that a priority as opposed to like the secondary thing. It's so natural when we come into an organization and we're expected to deliver results, to focus on the results and think the people part would take care of itself. But what I have found, and it is so counterintuitive, is that when we focus on the people first, the results will take care of themselves. And it is that sort of counterintuitive realization for the engineer brain, right, who's all about data, logic, and facts and results, to realize that no, really, it's the art of inspiration through
Mm.
leadership of people that will get you the best results. And it'll make it more enjoyable, which, by the way, the science says if it is enjoyable, you're likely to get better results. So everything points to focusing on how do you create the best experience for your people. So how do you do that? You get to know your people. You make it a very intentional part of what you do as a leader is to understand your people. And as an organization, so organization is really just a group of people, a group of leaders, teams of leaders. You create a culture where your leaders are expected to do that with their teams.
Mm.
And I have found that that is the secret sauce. And so when we come in and we work with organizations, and I say it's almost feel guilty about it, but that's all we're doing. And we get to the work, but we focus on the people first.
Yeah, but we're so programmed to not focus on people. We're focused on profit. There's a book called Profit First, and we need to be people first, right? So
Yes.
it sounds like it's sneaky, and yet it's really hard probably for people to make that shift because they haven't grown up in their role in their career trajectory, focusing on people. And some people, dare I say, if you grew up in a dysfunctional family like many of us, you don't know how to focus on people because no one's maybe done that in your family. You've never had that experience. So it makes it even harder to do that in a corporate place. I'll tell you, I know I told this story in another podcast, but I remember I had somebody on my team. This is funny to me now. It wasn't then. And she would come to my office, Andre, every week and cry. Now, mind you, I was a deputy director of training for a nonprofit in California. We had over 300 agencies. We would go in and train, similar to work that we both are doing now, right? My best trainer would come to my office every day, cry. And I'm like, I would hand her the Kleenex box, or I would tell her, go cry and then come back when you finish. Like, I'm not dealing with that. I don't have time for that. I didn't say that, but that's what that, right?
Mhm.
Every week. And so after a while, I handed her the Kleenex box and I said, go ahead and get it out and talk to me about what you're feeling. Now, mind you, I'm a social worker. I'm trying to do that, but I'm like, I don't have time for that. Until I asked her, Do you know, not only did we work through whatever that was, and I'm not going to tell her business, but we worked through that thing. In addition, she started to overperform everybody else because she got it out. And by the way, she ended up quitting and getting a better job. But that wasn't my intention. But I remember how she's always at least once a quarter reach out and just thank me because I allowed her to process what she was feeling, which made her a better person. And I think it's really hard for us. And I'm gonna tell you the reason I didn't do that. Mind you, I'm a social worker, so I'm trained that way. But then you get in a big corporate role, and I'm deputy director of a division, and now it's telling me that I have to hit these benchmarks, and I'm worried about my benchmarks
mm,
and I forget about worrying about my people.
mm, mm, mm. That reminds me, Nicole. My college roommate, who I won't share his name. I won't share the name of the company. But he became an executive. This is a very well-known company. Everyone would know the name of this company. Came as an officer of the corporation, an executive, and he passed away from cancer
Mm,
in 2022. And at his funeral, which his company sponsored, by the way, which is
mm,
kind of unusual and really great. Everyone that got up there and spoke said nothing about his metrics, said nothing about his performance, his KPIs. Everyone that got up there talked about the impact that he had on them as people.
mm,
And I tend to believe that at the end of all of our lives, looking back, that is what's going to matter. That is what's going to make us feel that we had a meaningful life, the connection with people.
all right, meaningful. I hear you.
I'm gonna get it in there now. I'm gonna get it in. I know the name of the podcast.
I love it. So, how do you see this whole concept of purposeful leadership evolving? We're in a time now, as we're recording this episode. For those of you that will listen later, that we're at as you said, we are at in a disruption. But how do you see, even in this moment, the future of
Mm.
purpose-driven leadership? Where do you see it going? How do you see it evolving?
I see it becoming even more of the center of the work experience. And I'll explain the two reasons for that. One, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and this is something back when I started this work and said we're going to focus on purpose, I paid attention to. So if you look at the different levels, and so you got like physical safety up to feeling like you belong, up to self-actualization. And if you look at the generation, so baby boomers kind of took care of the bottom of that pyramid. Gen X was up in the more feeling like we belong and we're getting promoted. And then you looked at when millennials got into the workforce and now Gen Z, they're at self-actualization. They're at the top of the pyramid. So if you think about it that way, this idea of baby boomers would stay in a job for 40 years and then retire. And I remember years ago, it's, oh, millennials are jumping around so much. It's because they're looking for more meaning in their work. So that trend is already there. That's one thing. The second thing, we are going through a reset right now in this, not only this country, but in this world. There's a reset. What the outcome of that reset will be is still to be determined, and that's out of our control. But what I believe is going to happen is even more than before, the people that were kind of on the fringes of looking for purpose, looking for meaning, it's going to be disrupted. The system that they thought in this reset is no longer going to be the system going forward. And I believe even more people are going to have that moment of disruption and, okay, in this moment of disruption, let me find the gift. Let me find
Mm.
the opportunity. Let me find who I really am as a human being and how I can bring all of that to the world. So I think those two things are putting us in this sort of sweet spot of purpose and meaning being the main thing at work going forward.
And what you said just made me think about the fact that we really got kind of an appetizer to this reset called
Mm,
COVID, right? COVID gave us an opportunity to really look at it. So many people start to really look at, do I love my job? Is it giving my life meaning? And really, it was more of the fulfillment question. Am I really fulfilled? And many people began to either leave their jobs, shift their career path, because I think it gave us an opportunity to really sit and level set. But yet, this place is an even bigger level set than that was. And I think people don't even realize that God was preparing us ahead of time for where we are right now,
mm,
right?
I love it. I love it. That was the practice run, right? That was the mini before the major.
Right. So good. So anything I haven't asked you, because this has been also good, right? Any question, anything you want to share with our listeners that I haven't asked you as we wrap up this episode?
Oh wow, what a thoughtful question. Anything that I have not been asked that I wish I was asked in this moment. Um, I think so. One thought is around the idea of leadership, and I was talking to someone the other day, and they said, and they were, Gen X, kind of an older Gen X person, and they said that they don't think they would be comfortable if their manager asked them about their values
Hmm.
at work because, coming up, we just didn't talk about that kind of thing. And if I had to leave one thought with this audience around the concept of bringing more of your why to work, making, work more meaningful as a leader, there's two ideas. One, you don't have to be in a management position to be a leader. Managing and leading are two different things.
Mhm.
Leading is a decision, leading is an action. Anyone can lead if they make the decision to. Leading just means that you have followers, it means that you're taking people somewhere. You have some influence and you're trying to help make a positive impact. So that's the first thought around sort of what to do with being a meaningful and sort of purpose driven leader in an organization. The second is to realize that this generation, and as we just talked about, even more, probably everyone with everything that's happening in this reset, is looking for meaning more than ever. And the way to be a purpose driven leader is to start with yourself. You can't give what you don't have. You can't teach what you don't know. So there's this own, if you haven't done the self-discovery work to figure out how you're bringing meaning to work, then it's hard for you to do it for other people.
Mhm.
But once you do it for yourself, don't stop there. Do help your people understand their values, and things like that, who they are, and how to bring more of the best of themselves to work. So my two parting thoughts are that, and to just lean into this moment. This is a time of, I've talked to so many people, there's so much anxiety. You can see it on their faces, you can feel it. However, I've also talked to so many people that see nothing but opportunity right now.
Mm.
So realize that there is an option to make the decision to lean into opportunity, to lean into taking this moment to do something that you never, ever would have thought to do if this hadn't happened. And
So
hopefully
good.
we'll
So
be
good.
seeing and reading about everyone that's listening and all the amazing things that you're doing.
So good, so good. So thank you, Andre, because you've given us so much, right? To chew on, to activate, to reset, to really look at where we are so that we can use this disruption for our good. So it doesn't have to be a negative disruption. It could just be a moment to shift to do whatever our next is. So thank you for the work you're doing. Thank you for sharing. And believe it or not, I'm shy too. And I'm just sharing this with you guys at the end. I had to push past the disruption of listen, if you guys ever see me speak, okay, I'm gonna out myself real quick and then I'm gonna close. If you see me speak, so don't laugh. When I have a glass in my hand, I always have a straw. And people think I'm being a diva. Let me tell y'all why I have a straw. Because I'm shaking so hard that I cannot put the glass up to my mouth. I have to drink it through the straw. Because I'm shy and I'm nervous and I don't, if I never had to speak, I love it now. But in order for me to do it, I'm still nervous. And the minute we are not nervous, as shy, introverted, I always call myself, what is it, whatever, intro, extra, because I like people, but I like to be by myself too. I forgot. Is it
Mhm.
an ambivert? Whatever.
Introvert, I believe.
Whatever. That
Mhm.
thing, that. um, so as long as you stay comfortable, you'll never push yourself into what's possible for you. It's getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. If you walk away with nothing Andre has said today, walk away with understanding disruptions are uncomfortable, but they push you into your next level. So thank you for everything you shared. So good.
Thank
Appreciate
you so much, Nicole. That is the word that you just left me with. Let me put that in my notes. Thank
you.
you for allowing me to be a part of this experience.
Thank you, sir. So good. I could talk to him for the next hour. So listen. I ask you this every episode. Number one, share the insight, the value, the activation you're going to take based on what Andre has shared here. Number one. Number two, share it. Share it in social media, share it on YouTube, share the link. Why? Because somebody in your family, your tribe, your village, your friends needs this insight. They're at a place, but maybe they haven't found the positive in their disruption yet. And the insight here will give them the shift that they need. So thank you again for joining us for the Meaningful Work podcast. I'll see you for our next episode. Bye, y'all.